if you know me, this will not surprise you that this giant orange, not really giant, this beautiful orange marsupial is on this list. But yeah, number 7's Crash. Crash is my son. Can you see the resemblance? Go ahead, Crash. Give the viewers a little smooch. Crash Bandicoot has had a massive impact on my life because Crash Bandicoot was the first video game that I ever played. The first time that I ever picked up one of these controllers was with this guy right here. I played Crash Bandicoot 1 on the PlayStation 1. I was 4 years old. I told this story on stream one time before, but a lot of the times what would happen is my dad would actually play with me, and so my dad would play Crash and I would watch him, and he would always get to the first water level, and then he gave the controller to me because here's why. I wasn't very good at Crash as a 4-year-old, but one thing that I was good at was making Crash die. And so me as a messed up 4-year-old kid got so much enjoyment just from making Crash jump into the water. I don't know why, but I thought it was hilarious. And that's literally all I wanted to do. Like, the first time I experienced Crash was my dad playing, and I just wanted to make him jump into the water so that he would drown, and I thought it was so funny, but it's so messed up, which probably explains a lot today. I'm kidding. I'm slightly more sane now than I was whenever I was 4. Slightly. But eventually, as I got a little bit older, I was still super young. I wasn't even in double digits yet. I actually started to play Crash on my own and then get kind of okay at it to the point where I actually got through most of Crash 1, but I wasn't smart enough to figure out like the little secrets and find all the boxes and figure out that if you get the color gem, you can go back to levels with the colored platforms, and then that'll lead you to a secret area to get boxes that you missed. No, I just loved running and jumping and spinning, and it was great. Then I played Crash 2 and 3, loved them, and then Crash Team Racing, which is my personal favorite kart racer of all time because it's Crash Bandicoot. That was what I grew up with. Essentially, with Crash, I feel like if it wasn't for Crash Bandicoot, I don't know if I'd be the gamer that I was today. As a kid, I wasn't really interested in playing a lot of games unless it was Crash or Mario. Those were the games that I was interested in. And also, those are the games that my parents let me play. I wouldn't even be a gamer if it wasn't for me picking up a controller and playing Crash Bandicoot. And what's cool is, again, as I got older, I started to actually understand oh wait, I can actually do more than just run through the levels, right? I can actually break all the boxes and get rewarded for it and stuff like that. And so then I went out of my way to try to 100% these games, and that was where the true satisfaction came in, was 100%ing Crash games. You can play through a Crash game casually, but man, these games are meant to be completed. They are just beckoning for you to complete them. I ain't gonna tell you how to play Crash Bandicoot at all, but I will say this: whenever I jump into a Crash game, I have to complete it to its entirety because I feel like I didn't get the full experience if I didn't complete them. Throughout my entire childhood, throughout my middle school years, my high school years, college, whatever, anytime there was a new Crash game out, I bought it. I played every single Crash game that I could get my hands on, even the bad ones, even Crash of the Titans, even Tag Team Racing, even Crash Purple. And funny enough, I do like Spyro as well, but I actually got into Spyro because of Crash Bandicoot, because, those two are always super tight. That's how I got into Spyro. I actually played Crash Purple and Spyro Orange, and then I was like, yo, I kind of want to check out the Spyro games. And even though there's some really great Crash games and some Crash games that aren't so good, I can't not have a fun time with Crash Bandicoot. Crash just means so much to me because I've grown up with him, and I feel like he's grown up with me. And dude, when the Insane Trilogy came out, oh my gosh, it was one of the best days of my life. Because I didn't have my PS1 anymore. Like, we got rid of it. And so, I couldn't play, like, the classic Crash games again. Getting to play the Insane Trilogy, I really felt like I was a kid again. I felt like I was, you know, back in my living room at my old house with my dad playing Crash 1. You know, it just felt so nostalgic and just a wholesome thing in general. I'm so glad the Insane Trilogy is a thing. And it added some stuff too. Like, it added Stormy Ascent and Future Tense to Crash 1 and 3, which were two pretty much bonus levels that are really, really hard. They added time trials to Crash 1 and 2. Even though they weren't built for time trials, they threw them in there because why not? And they let you play as Coco as well. You can switch between the two, which is, you know, doesn't really add anything to, like, anything different to the gameplay, but it's just like a nice little thing, right? I played through the Insane Trilogy, 100%ed the entire Insane Trilogy, and it was great. And then, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel released a couple of years later. Again, this is my favorite kart racer of all time. And so not only did Crash Team Racing have, you know, the racetracks and the story mode from the original Crash Team Racing, but it also had a bunch of racetracks from Crash Nitro Kart, and it had characters from all the Crash Kart Racer games in this game. And you could play online. And although the online wasn't great, you know, the fact that I could actually race other people around the world online in my favorite kart racer of all time was huge for me, because I would always just play with my cousins. Like, my cousins and I, we would hook up our controllers to the PS1, we'd do split screen, and we would play all the time. And so it was just so awesome being able to relive that and again, experience that, because Crash Team Racing was a huge part of my childhood. I actually personally prefer Crash Team Racing over, like, Mario Kart, because that's what I grew up with. Like, I played Mario Kart as a kid, but Crash Team Racing was like, that was my first kart racer, and that's what got me into kart racers. And the crazy thing is, Crash Bandicoot to this day is my second favorite franchise of all time, right behind Kingdom Hearts. To this day, Crash Bandicoot still holds up, at least for me. It still holds up for me. Dude, when Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time got announced, oh my gosh, dude, like, I may have cried because it was the first time in forever that we were getting an actual legit Crash game that was like following the Crash formula and that felt like a Crash game in so long. And we literally got it like a year and a half ago, and oh my gosh, when Crash 4 came out, I felt like a kid again. Like, every single time I play Crash, I always just feel like a kid again. I'm always being brought back to my roots, and that's something really, really special to me. You know, I never want that passion or that flame to ever die out, and I never want this franchise to really stop, because, like, my goodness, this is what made me a gamer. This was my childhood summed up in a nutshell. And my gosh, when Crash 4 came out, not only did we beat Crash 4, we 100%ed the game. Not only did we 100% Crash 4, we 106%ed it. I got all the platinum relics, I got all the gems, I got all the tapes, I got all the perfect relics. I did everything, because Crash Bandicoot, to me, it's meant to be completed, and if I don't complete it, I didn't get my money's worth, and that's always how I've been. And I love Crash 4 so much to the point where I'm doing something I've never ever tried before. I'm actually attempting to collect all the Toys for Bob relics, which are literally like, basically it's a step up from the platinum relics, and you're trying to beat the devs of the game. Basically, you're trying to beat the dev times. They did something like that in Crash Team Racing. I didn't really attempt it in Crash Team Racing because, like, I'm pretty good at Crash Team Racing, but I don't know, I felt just really, because I've been craving like an actual authentic Crash platformer for so long, oh my gosh, you know, we're working for those dev relics. We might do a stream or two of those eventually in the future. We've done a couple streams of those on Twitch in the past. But yeah, I do want to jump back into that because it's, as painful as it is, it's insanely fun. I think this is why I love doing some of these challenge runs, like for example, like Kingdom Hearts on critical level 1, or trying to like get the developer times in Crash Bandicoot or something like that, or even trying like, I don't know, I'm just thinking like The World Ends With You on hard level 1 for a little bit. Like, Crash inflicted a lot of pain on me because I died a lot in this game, right? But it made me tough as nails, man. It made me tough as nails. I could be at a boss in Sekiro or Dark Souls, even though I've never played Dark Souls before, for hours. But you know what? I ain't giving up. Because Crash taught me, honestly, never to give up. Like, literally, like, the time trials and just, like, all the deaths, it's like, you know what? I ain't gonna give up. This is the first game that really teach me, like, to not give up because it's so satisfying once you actually do complete it. Long story short, Crash Bandicoot, the reason why he's impacted my life so much, it really just comes down to the fact that he was my childhood, even to this day. Like, if I were to boot up a Crash game, I feel like a kid again. And I love that feeling because I'm someone who, like, growing up, I never wanted to grow up. And even, like, to this day, like, it's like, I'm an adult. I'm going to be 26 real soon. But I still don't want to, like, grow up, you know? Like, there's something so special about, like, that childlike wonder, right? And that childlikeness that I still, even in my later years, I still would like to actually carry that with me, because that is something that you don't really, at least with a lot of people that I see nowadays, it's like you don't really see that anymore. It's like, you know, you get older, you're an adult, and it's like, all right, I'm an adult, I'm super serious all the time, like this, and this, and it's like, you know, it's kind of just like you grew up. Where's the fun in that? Right? Where's the fun in that? I love Crash so much, but he is number 7 on this list, which might be surprising to some people. Maybe some of y'all, you know me, you know how much I love Crash. Maybe some of y'all might have thought he would have been a little bit higher. But honestly, there's some characters that we're going to get to that, you know, even though like Crash is one of my favorite video game characters of all time, and some of these other characters later on I might not love them as much as I love Crash, because Crash is my childhood, but like some of these characters that we're going to talk about, especially in these last 6, oh man, we're gonna get deep. I'm very excited. Crash, you have anything else to say? Anything you'd like to add? No? Are you sure? Well, there you have it then. The marsupial has spoken. Or, well, I guess he hasn't spoken, but you know what I mean. Crash Bandicoot, number 7.